Good morning. I'm honored this morning to have the opportunity to be able to tell you about the Bahamas work. It's a work that this congregation was heavily involved with for over 2 years after the hurricane had actually struck on September 1st, 2019. And we just recently concluded our efforts there, and so I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we did and give you a lot of visuals. Actually, I'm not going to say a lot, because I think pictures talk better, than what I could ever talk, and so there's going to be a lot of pictures. But I've thought about it a lot, and I don't want it to seem like we're taking any credit for anything, because truly it's God has all the glory. And I think if we were going to title what we're talking about, I think it might be appropriate to say what God let us do. And this is something that far more than we would be capable of, and you can see his hand all through it. Anyway, so September 1st, 2019, Hurricane Dorian. Let me see if I can get this to work. Oh. Click, click. Oh, there you go. Okay. Well, let's start like this. This is very interesting. You think about, different things, about your life and how we feel that things just go on every day and you have a regular course of what you do each day. Well, this was 2 weeks before Dorian. We had a group over in the Bahamas, and we were doing a gospel meeting and meeting with people and trying to teach them about the Bible. And I don't know how much you can tell, but I mean, we really had a great time enjoying things. The sun, everything was nice and everything. But that was 2 weeks before Dorian hit. And then there's a picture of Dorian, huge hurricane, sat over Marsh Harbour for hours and hours with 200 mile an hour up to 200 and some mile an hour winds. Worst one they've ever had in their history. And so really, really tough time. That was on September 1st. This is a picture of what Main Street looked like. And though you probably can't tell, the church building is right there where you can see kind of the brown roofing and things. That is the church building, what's left of the church building right there on the Main Street in downtown Marsh Harbour. Another look at some of the devastation. I mean, it was that bad. It was interesting. I flew over not long after that, and when I was on the flight over there, I was sitting next to an insurance agent, and he said, "Have you been here yet?" And I said, No, it's my first trip. And he said, "Well, you really better brace yourself," he said, "because in all my years of covering disasters all over the world, I've never seen one like this." He said, it's gonna really get to you when you see what's happening. And that's not an over-exaggeration of what it looked like right there. Some more pictures of downtown. That's not like on the seashore there, guys. That's downtown. Downtown, they had waters that were over 8 foot high. As a matter of fact, I've got a picture in here. It shows you where the scum line was on the inside of our building was about 8 foot high. There were sharks swimming through the streets and all kinds of things like that. There, however, in spite of that, I want to say that the work continued to go on through thick and thin. The members here in Marsh Harbour, and that's South Abaco, were still doing the work and with whatever they had left. And that's also a baptism that occurred during that time, and it was very uplifting, and they were very positive and and happy and kept the faith, that's for sure. Areas that we assisted, Freeport, 8 Mile Rock, Nassau, Marsh Harbour, and South Abaco. So we were working with 5 different locations throughout this, and in many that were around those areas. This is on the first was when it hit, and that was the 6th and 7th. By the 6th and 7th, which was 5 days later, this is what the members of Palm Beach Lakes, were doing. And so that was, I thought, really very responsive to be that quick. Here's God's team was ready and willing, and this was one of the greatest projects that I've been involved with, mostly because almost everybody in this auditorium did something and was involved in it and was really committed to it. And it's amazing what we can do as a group and what the Lord enabled us to do. Here is the first shipment. So 9/1 it hit. On 9/9 there was the first shipment on the loading dock, ready to go. First shipment hit Freeport on 9/12, which was unbelievable because the shipping was in tatters. I mean, it was just a total disaster. And then the government was seizing most everything that was sent over there. And thanks to the Lord, we had some really good connections, including a member here who worked at Tropical, as well as, I don't know if you know, but the president of Tropical is a member of the church as well. And so we were able to get through and do some things that a lot of people weren't able to do. And again, it wasn't us doing it, but the Lord just laid out the pathway, and we were able to follow it. On 9/12, our first shipment arrived, which would have been 11 days after. This was our first group meeting in 9/18, where we got together to talk about how we got to get a little organized, because this is a pretty big project. Over the term of this thing, donors and people who gave, and churches, and the Helping Hands International worked with us a lot. There was probably well over $1.5 million were raised to be able to fund this thing. And so it was amazing how the funding came. All of us filled out cards. Here's the one from the person who said, "Oh, by the way, I work at Tropical Shipping," which was very advantageous. But also almost everybody filled out a card. And what was really cool is when the call came and the need was there, was to find out all of our talents. We definitely were not a one-talent church, that's for sure. It was amazing how everybody had talents that we didn't even realize, and how willing they were to employ those talents to make this happen. We did everything from the one picture there on the wall was one of our members put a big note together, and we put it on their wall just a few weeks after that happened. There was members here that gave vehicles. We donated containers from the store places, and we were all over those stores working like crazy. So Freeport was the first place we concentrated on. If you see that sign that says love, that sign is made up of cards that each of you wrote to send to them. And when I arrived in Freeport, that's what was on their big board in the foyer. They took all those cards and put them through there and made that. And that was really just a really inspiration to them, to think about us thinking about them. There's a flight in, and then there's where we started. We sent workers over to work there. This is Freeport. So if you see all that stuff, that was they have a big room in the back of their church building, and that was filled with stuff that we and Helping Hands had sent over. That's the Freeport Church of Christ on the bottom. You can see the truck up there. They went out day after day giving out the things that were sent over there from here to all the needy people that had their homes destroyed, and that was really a special thing. In addition, they set up a food feeding place there at the church, and every evening people would come by the church to get food. And a lot of the things that they had to give out and prepared came from the shipping that was done from here. 8 Mile Rock is also in Grand Bahama. There's some of the stuff that we did there. We didn't do as much because they have a supporting church that did a lot, but we filled in all the gaps and helped them out quite a bit. Nassau was not really hit by the hurricane, but they had refugees, people from Marsh Harbour. It was so bad there was no place to live. And so they exported everybody out of Marsh Harbour into either Nassau. Some came here to the U.S., and so there's some of the stuff that we sent. We sent a lot of supplies food, water, clothing, et cetera, to Nassau for quite a while. That's Andrew Major. In the larger picture there is the preacher at the Central Church in Nassau. Here's some more families in Nassau with the things that were sent, receiving them. Marsh Harbour was kind of sad because they got destroyed so bad, but the government didn't really let anybody in there for months and months and months and months. So unfortunately, they were the last area we were able to address, only because of that. So at Marsh Harbour, we flew over and took a look at things, and I've never been to a third world nation, and I've never, really even couldn't even understand. But it's the first time that you had to go to a food bank to get food to eat because there was no food anywhere. There was no commerce. I mean, when you went outside, there was no sound because there was no cars, there was no trucks, there was no people. It was just dead, everything. It was very eerie. But, here was that bottom one with the guy sitting by the palm tree. That was the airport at Freeport. That's where you picked up your plane, by the palm tree there. Here is World Food people that came in and thank goodness brought water and food. There's a sampling of the food that they brought. I have no idea what it was, but when you're hungry, it tasted good. The guy in the top of the baseball cap is Ben Allen. He is a general contractor that was a member of the Church of Marsh Harbour, who led all of the reconstruction work. And so we all met there, and once they'd cleaned out the church building and tried to put a plan together. And then the bottom is a picture of their fellowship hall, what it looked like. And so here's the Marsh Harbour building after Dorian and now. I don't think it's very hard to tell which one is which. But anyway, as you can see, they've got a first-class facility, and the work that was done with hurricane-level windows and construction materials that were really upgraded to help them so that they would be able to do this, make it through a hurricane in the future without so much damage. Here's what it looked like on the outside of the building. There's some more pictures. If you look real close in that middle picture, you can see that scum line. That's how high the waters were in the church building at that time. And that's inside the Bible school classes right there. There's some more pictures of what the church building looked like. There's a boat in their front yard. And just a disaster. Outside that door you see, there was a man who was taking shelter and was killed in the hurricane, laying on the back porch of that. Here's some of the reconstruction effort that went on. So we sent just container after container after container of construction materials. And so the church was being reconstructed. Here's a little bit of what it looks like right now. And I don't know if you can see that top picture there where the guy's up on the roof, but if you look down in the bottom side of that, you'll see that truck that was sent over. It's still being used today, towards the efforts that are over there. But that's the church building as it looks within the last few weeks. There they go. There's that truck again. There's some guys up there working on the front of the church building. They, by the way, just got power. So they'll have a fully usable building now. There's the insides. This is their fellowship hall. There it is today. It's not quite done yet, but they just have a few little things. They probably have less than a week's worth of work to go, but it's been also put back together. Here's some of the members' homes. Okay, that was the preacher's home right there. A lot of you all know Greta Calmer. That's Greta's home. Here's a lady. It was an elderly lady, and her home, if you'll notice, was really destroyed. If you see that sand in the bottom middle section there, that's what we had to do. They brought it down to bare sand and started from the foundation up. There's what it looks like today. That's a house that they built. And there she is, smiling and happy, and that's a little bit of her house. Here's a blind man that was helped. His house was totally destroyed. And there's his house today after being totally rebuilt from the bottom up. Here's some other members' houses. It's hard to tell, but there is a before and after in there, I think. South Abaco is also one we worked with. Sent lots of materials and things to. They did some reconstruction, did a lot of work delivering things to the community and keeping the community involved and helping others. There, if you see the top picture with the white tent, that's a facility that, well, first of all, the big picture is the picture of their temporary, where they were meeting under just some kind of a shelter, and now they have that white tent. It's a really nice tent that they're meeting in. There you can see some pictures of it. The estimated impact, 30 plus homes. I don't know how many more, could have been 40 or 50, but 30 plus. Marsh Harbour Church Building and Fellowship Hall fully restored. 8 to 10 full-time Bahamian jobs for 2 years. Worked with the Nassau churches to support 75 to 100 refugees. Food, construction, supplies, appliances, furniture, and basics to hundreds of members and non-members. Care packages to communities. Temporary meeting space for South Abaco. Temporary school accommodations for some in the U.S. Shipping hub for others to send supplies to members. And that's really just the start of the work that the Lord did. Thank yous. First of all, thank you, everyone. What an uplifting experience it was to work, hand in hand together as a family to work on this big work. But helping hands was a big part, but they basically entrusted us to make the decisions for the money spending, but they also raised money and did a lot. The members of the Bahamian churches were fully committed, all in, and it was really interesting because it wasn't like, oh man, I got a chance to get a new whatever now. It was like they wanted to take the least amount that we could do. I kind of felt bad because we really didn't do as much as we could have done for some of them, but they were very frugal about it. They said, nope, Lord will take care of the rest of it. Thank you for putting a roof over. We'll take it from there, etc. Construction teams we sent, hundreds of churches, members, and others for the support they gave in so many ways. Prayers, donations, love, but most importantly, to God be all the glory. Amen. Thank you, Lord, for allowing us to serve.